All right, so hi, this is Sarah Rintamaki, and I'm glad that everybody is here today for Staying Sane with Little Ones at Home, our summer check-in. We are so pleased that we were able to put on this program because of a grant from the GPD Employees Foundation. And this program is part of our virtual early childhood education series, which is sponsored by the Westlake Early Childhood PTA. We're so happy that our professionals are here to help us answer questions about visual schedules, as well as some activities we can do over the summer. So Neysa, I'll have you begin with, how do you set up with a summer structure using a visual schedule?
Well, let's start with what is a visual schedule, first of all, so everyone is on the same page with that. A visual schedule is simply an illustration of what your day is going to look like. It can be pictures, it can be objects, it can be anything that represents an activity. Typically it's pictures, but for some of our younger children, it might be a puzzle piece. It might be something that represents outdoor play. It might be something that represents go to the park. So we would maybe use some objects for the younger kids. But it's just an illustrated schedule, a sequence of pictures or objects that represent what your day is going to be like and what activities are going to be included in that day. And it can be broken down into things like the morning routine, the afternoon routine, and even smaller sets of activities, half of the morning, half of the afternoon, things like that. And then why a visual schedule is important is because kids need predictability. Children thrive on predictability, and the schedule gives them a visual form of what's going to happen. So things are predictable. They're visually present right there. You can see that after breakfast, we're going to go outside to play because there's a representation of that picture or object that will indicate that. So kids can see what's coming next in their day. And when kids can see that, they know that there might be a change coming up. And some of our kids have difficulty with transitions and changes. So by being able to see the picture or the object illustrated there, they have a heads up about what's to expect next, and they can kind of prepare themselves that we're going to make a change here pretty soon. This is all done, of course, with you as the parents or the educators telling the children that this is what's happening. So we're going to continue to talk to our kids during the day about what's going on, but this is a supplement that allows them to not only hear the words that go with the routine, but also to see the pictures that represent those routines. And together then you have great power between the auditory channel and the visual channel. The visual schedule will really help your child get into the summer schedule more quickly because it's somewhat consistent. It represents summer activities, and it helps kids see the agenda and know what they can expect in their day. Some families like to add a time frame to the pictures. So if your child is older and he's starting to understand the concepts of time, first, next, half an hour, we're going to do this, then we're going to switch to something else. So you can, use time concepts as well to help your child understand what's coming up. And I think lastly, there's a whole bunch of reasons why a visual schedule is important, but I think lastly, the way the visual schedule is organized, it gives your child a sense of control and independence. They can look at that visual schedule and know what they're supposed to do next without you as the parents repeating, or nagging them to move on. So I think the picture representation there helps that. Kathy, any additional ideas there?
Sure, those are all great ideas. I think a lot of times it helps when you can say, go check your schedule. So you don't have to repeat yourself and what's happening next. We have a lot of little kids that are involved here today for like the 2-year-olds and the 3-year-olds. It's okay to start using a visual schedule at that young of age. You can also just do like 2 or 3 things. So this is what the morning's gonna look like. We're gonna eat breakfast, you're gonna watch TV, and then we're gonna do something else, a craft or something, so they have an idea. I think it's important that for the older kids, or even with the younger kids, that you start establishing a routine. We're giving them a choice. So if you know, you should have your pictures ready or have your ideas ready in your head and say, do you want to do books after breakfast, or do you want to play with Play-Doh after breakfast? So it's two things that you are okay with, but you're giving them the opportunity and the responsibility of making that choice. And at 2, it's okay to do that. Don't forget to add screen time. You know, this is for you. It can't work unless it works for you. So you want to make sure you get that in there too. As kids get older and understand a little bit more, put out some time where it's quiet time, where mommy gets her quiet time and the kids get their quiet time. Or if mommy has work time, this is mommy's work time, and then we're going to play together. And you might have to start that as a really short time where it's all of 5 minutes. But once they get the idea that it's mommy's time, you can build on for that. And that's for all routines. Now you could probably go on Pinterest and find all the pictures in the world to print off. However, if you have an old-fashioned refrigerator, you can get a dry erase marker and do 1, 2, 3 on your refrigerator and put, you know, eat, or a picture of a spoon for breakfast and a picture of a book, and then erase it and go off. It does not need to look beautiful. So that's about it, but set it up, have it ready, be prepared in your head for what you want to do and how the day is going to go.
Kathy, I love what you said about giving the kids choices, because then they're owning the schedule and they feel empowered, and that just makes for a much more cooperative day. So even the kids can take, you know, if they choose to do Play-Doh after breakfast because that's something that you've decided that that's okay with, then they can put the Play-Doh picture up on the schedule themselves and feel ownership of that schedule. So it doesn't always have to be the parent who's arranging the pictures in a certain order. It could be the child who's helping that too.
You know, and you're working on educational skills. What comes first, what comes second, what comes last, you know, even the pictures representing different words. It's all educational as well.
I found a really cool website. It's called, what is it called?
This Reading Mama.
This Reading Mama, thank you. thisreadingmama.org. And she has an afternoon rotation station. And you know how kids start to get a little bored in the afternoon. The morning usually goes smoother than the afternoon. So she calls it afternoon rotation station, and each of her children has a sequence of pictures on their little board. And they all rotate through the same activities, but just at a different time. So from 1 to 1:30, say, child A is doing downstairs play. And downstairs play is free choice, where on the shelves are things that are available to do during this time. Then you would rotate from there to, say, quiet time with the iPad. And then you might rotate to one-on-one time with mommy or daddy. And each child rotates through those activities. You just everyone starts at a different point. And then they stay there for half an hour, and there's some rules where you have to clean up the activity before you move on to the next activity. And that works well for a lot of children. And they can, you that are in charge of arranging those activities, and then they just take their little picture board and get on with it, with, of course, some assistance.
And don't be afraid to use your older children as helpers.
Right.
You know, they can set up, whenever I thought of you, you know, they can set up a morning or an afternoon. And typically in a school, when they have a picture schedule, they really don't change it too often. But if you're finding that it's a terrible day and nothing seems to work, you can say, you know, make up your own phrase or make up your own fun thing and say, schedule change, you know, and we're going to add this fun thing in there. It needs to be something that saves you. Because if you are having a rough day, and we all have them, and it's not going to work, and it's just going to be a bunch of fighting, then the schedule isn't going to work. So throw in something that you enjoy doing with your kids, or something, it's a special movie day and you get to watch a movie, but just don't do it, I mean, obviously all the time. You got to say it.
And I also think the element of surprise, that having a child wake up in the morning and go, "Ooh, gosh, I wonder what we're going to do today," and looking at the picture schedule and finding maybe you represent something special with a gold star. Ooh, what does this gold star activity equal today? It equals time at the park, or it equals we're going to go on a nature hike, or we're going to go next door and see the neighbor's dogs, or we're going to go swimming. It can be whatever you want it to be. And that's the beauty of it, is that it can be very flexible. So that gold star can just change as you need it to change.
You might not even know what that gold star is when you put it up.
Right.
But when the time comes, you'll figure it out. Right.
And it's based on what your kids are going to need. Do they need outdoor time right now? Do they need quiet time? What do they need? Yeah. I think it's okay to add a few chores into the daily schedule. Mm-hmm. Don't be afraid to, put a few chores in there so that your kids learn responsibility. I would definitely rotate a chore first with something fun, secondary. So first we do our chore, second we go out to play. And the chore can be something as simple as brushing your teeth or putting your cup in the sink after breakfast or getting your shoes on to go outside and play.
That's great. And because you'll have chore time at that time also. Mm-hmm. It's your chore time, it's my chore time, because anything that you do is a chore.
Unfortunately, yes. The whole day is full of chores. And I would definitely alternate an active activity with a calming activity to help keep your child regulated through the day. Just like if we sit too long, we get a little antsy and fidgety and bored. So do children. So, you sit a little bit during breakfast. Maybe after breakfast, it's time to get up and go outside before it gets too hot. And then, you get a little exercise outside, then you're ready. Your body is ready. It's regulated, it's calm, and it's in a good state of learning because you've had all that energy outlet outside. You can come back in now and maybe sit down and do a quiet activity like a book or an art project or whatever your children like to do at a table or on the floor.
Any questions on visual schedules?
So our next question is, what simple activities can you incorporate into your child's summer play to increase communication, social, and academic skills?
I'm going to jump on if you don't mind, Neysa.
Go right ahead.
All right. So everything is educational. You do not have to sit down and do any structured work. Any play that you do with kids builds language, builds communication skills, builds math and science and anything you do. So don't feel like you have to sit down and work on academics. The thing that I'm going to tell you that you don't want to hear is it's a lot of work to prepare for your kids to be active during the summer. And if you put in the work, you'll find that it'll help you out. So, you think about your daily activities where you're making dinner, you're trying to figure out, well, I got to have this in the house, I got to do this in the house. And, dinner comes much better when you're prepared for it. It's the same things with kids and during play. And if you're home and what's going to happen. So, when I am out in my classroom and I prepare for a sub, I get all the best activities and I put them in a basket and I leave them for my sub, which really kind of stinks because then I don't get to enjoy them. But I know that the kids are going to engage in those activities. I know that they're going to get along. I know that the sub is going to be able to pull, any of the standards that we're working on. And I think in order to have a really good summer, you need to get 2 little baskets put together. One with things that you can do together. Maybe a new puzzle, a new game, watercolor, balls. I know balloons aren't really popular with little kids, but for water balloons or a squirt gun, you could do beads with pipe cleaners. You can find some new books. You could even write down like that choice jar and have some different activities in there, like nature walks or different things that you want to do. And bubble wrap, like at Walmart, they sell bubble wrap really cheap, and you could have that in there. So when it's a day that, you know, no one's getting along or you just haven't had it, you can go in there and pull something out of that box and say, you know, don't let the kids know about it. You don't even need to say it's a prize box. That's just your own secret stash that you can come out and bring out to the kids. Like Neysa said, they want your attention. They want you to play with them. And that's another thing with the schedule. If you play with them, you can have a 20-minute playtime where we're going to build blocks and we're going to play with cars and we're going to do Play-Doh. And when this 20 minutes is done, then mommy has her, you can call it work time, and you're going to go play by yourself. So, and when mommy's done with her work, we'll do this again, and you can have different activities to do. You can also come up with that same box and have things that they can do on their own. So those are little stashes for you to say, oh my God, I just need 15 minutes by myself. And you could do a coloring book, a new toy, a doll, a Paw Patrol, anything like that. And Sarah brought up a really good point. You don't need to go out and buy these things. At night when the kids are sleeping, take their old toys that they haven't really shown much interest in, clear it out, put them away, and pull those out. And they'll be like, oh, this is a whole new toy, and they'll be fine with it. But if you are prepared, then it's going to make life a little bit easier. And even if you're thinking the night before, like, oh, you know, Declan's had a rough day, and I hope tomorrow's going to be better. So if by 10 I don't see it going well, I might pull out that new puzzle that I bought. I have a ton. I have like 8 pages that I typed up of different activities to do in the house that you can do with the kids. And I could go through all of them, but you know, I want to hear what Neysa has to say too. But you just have to know that it is summer. And when you're playing with the blocks and the cars and, you know, Cameron's building a tower and you're like, 1, 2, 3, and he yells, go, and knocks it down. You are working on all academic skills. And you can use, you can use your 14-year-old and say, you know, this is what we need to do tonight. Let's see if we can get, you know, him to say 1, 2, 3, go, or count up to 10 before we knock it down, and have them have some responsibilities. And just have things a little bit planned out. You know, kids, little kids love soap and water. If you have a back patio, you can get, you know, cars and dolls and a bike and anything. You can wash the car. You can sit out with your book or your iPad and do schoolwork, and they can play in the soapy water for 45 minutes. And that is a fun activity. It's sensory. It's good for their sensory. You can talk about body parts. You can talk about colors. You can talk about washing. You can talk about splashing fast and slow. There's all these different activities you can do. You can bring a sensory tub inside your house with sand or rice. And I suggest you get a big plastic cloth, tablecloth to put down. And then you can just pick it all up and move it. This painter's tape is really great. You can do hopscotch. You can do a balloon volleyball game where you put a tape down the middle and you have some balloons. You can do different shapes on the floor and practicing hopping in and out, identifying shapes. You could put numbers down. I mean, the list goes on and on.
You can make you could make a walking line. You can hop over the line. You could walk on the line. You can bear
have
crawl.
Mom do it, you know, tell Mom, okay, I want Cameron to stand on his foot for 2 seconds. Now what does Mommy have to do, you know? This was an activity I thought was fun for the summer, is if you have a Rubbermaid container and you put some water in it and you add some toys and then you freeze it, and then add a little bit more water and freeze it, a little bit more water and freeze it, and you've got a frozen toy that you can take out to into the backyard or front yard, and they can either use squirt bottles to squirt the water to melt it, or you can give them toy hammers like you have in a little, you know, construction kit. And even that working the bottle is a great fine motor activity. You can collect rocks and paint them. You can make your own musical instruments. But you see, the whole key to all these things are your interaction with the kids. They want to see you playing it, and they want to see you having fun. French Creek in Sheffield has a really nice walking trail that is in the shade. And until you come out one of the sides, and there's a playground there if you're up to going to the playground. So it's a nice area. I've seen deer and, you know, all different animals there. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Jack Hartman, and he's a little different, but if you look up Jack Hartman videos, there's great exercises and fun music videos. There's also some really great children yoga. There's one, I meant to look at it before we came on tonight and I forgot it. And the woman has a British accent, and it might irritate you, but she's very calming for the kids. Oh, another favorite of mine is body bowling. So if you get some water bottles or pop bottles and you fill the bottom of it with some rocks or some rice or kitty litter so they don't knock over, and you can practice bowling just for the fun of it in your hallway, or you lay down and you roll and you knock down how many pins. And for the little ones that are 2 and 3 years old, even the 4-year-old, you won't believe how difficult it is for them to focus their body and roll that way to knock down the pins. And it's just a really funny, great activity for the kids. Your dance parties, kids love that you have dance parties. An indoor snowball fight, you know, get magazines, get newspapers, crunch up your snowballs. You got to squeeze really tight so you're building those finger muscles, those fine motor skills. Put them in a trash can, and then you stop and go, and you just have a great, you know, snowball fight. There's so many things, and even, I mean, the list just goes on. And all I did was Pinterest these things. It's all out there, but it's taking the time and preparing it. And, you know, toy cars and trains and Mr. Potato Head and stacking items, those are all educational toys that you can silly with. I'm going to put the hat on my head. Let's see if you can do it. You know, where should we put that next? Oh, mommy, put it on your ear. Well, he just gave you a direction, and that's what they're working on skills for at school. So you can see, as long as you're having fun, the kids are going to have fun. And then I'll stop talking, even though I could go on more. I did a presentation a long time ago for play with kids and how to play with kids. And this one mom came up to me and she said, you know, I don't know how to play. And I said, you know, you just crash the cars and you build the towers and you make it fun. And she said, I can't do that. You know, she was an executive in an office. And I said, no one is watching. You know, no one is looking at you. Your coworkers aren't looking at you. And she came back at the next meeting and she said, I really think my son likes me. You know, that she did it. And it was really nice for her, and it built that bond. So I think that's a real important thing to do. All right, Neysa. Sorry.
No, that was, I don't even know how to follow that list. I think, you know, Easter eggs, I'm just going to add to the list, and then I'm going to come back around and talk with how to embed the communication strategies in the academic piece. Easter eggs are really fun. Don't put those Easter eggs away after Easter. Keep those out. Put little trinkets in them. It could be stickers. It could be little bits of Cheerios. It could be little toys, little people. And kids cannot get enough. In the therapy room, it's one of the favorite toys. You know, you match the Easter eggs, so you're matching your colors, you open them up, you're using your fine motor strength to do so. There's a surprise element inside. You can talk about that surprise element. You can put it back in. You can try and close it. You can put it in the done basket. You can recall what you saw in the Easter eggs, and I wonder what's in the next one. So there's just a ton of things you can do with Easter eggs.
Can I add into that for a second?
For sure.
So we did Easter eggs on our Zoom meetings for preschool, and we put messages in them. And it opened up and said 10 jumping jacks, or go find something red, or find something that's soft. And the kids just scattered and left the rooms. And then another thing you can do is if you take them and have them open, and say maybe you have 10. So you find 5 different things. You have 2 of them have a paper clip underneath them. 2 of them have a Cheerio underneath them. 2 of them have a goldfish underneath them, and you play a memory game. So you open you look underneath and see what it is. So, okay, I'm picking back onto your.
No, I'm going to use that tomorrow. I'm going to grab my Easter eggs and use that game. Wind-up toys are fun, especially if we're looking for a communication temptation. So a communication temptation is the child can't play with the object or can't have as much fun with it without you. So he has to use his communication skills to engage with you. So for example, a wind-up toy, some of our younger kids don't have the fine motor abilities to turn that little thing to make the toy go. So that's where he has to engage with you, use his words, use his actions or his gesture system to tell you what he needs to have done there. Balloons are really great too. And, there's certain, there's a safety issue with balloons, but if we play with them in a controlled way, I think we're good. Where children can't blow up the balloons, but you can blow up the balloon and then you can let it squeak and then you can let it go around the room and they have to go run and get it. And you can talk about the color of the balloon, whether it should go fast or slow, whether it should go up or down, which room did it end up in, all kinds of things like that. I would like to have you guys look at, just for the communication temptations part, there's on our Connecting for Kids website, there's a how-to guide on 2 things. There's a how-to guide on making a visual schedule. And then there's also Communication Temptations by Ellen Spear. She talks about that, and there's a whole bunch of things to do where you put things in clear Ziploc bags or clear containers so the kids can see them, but they can't really access them. So they have to, ask you to open them, ask for more, tell you what they want, and that kinds of thing. So I would kind of guide you to that because that's, I think there's some really good information there. I think, Kathy, you touched on singing and dancing. Singing go and go and go and freeze. Go and freeze games are really fun. Following the directions during a dancing song. You put your right hand in, you put your right hand out. Any of those songs that have those directions. Things like Wheels on the Bus. What do you want to, do you want to talk about the wheels or do you want to talk about the horn? Do you want to talk about mommy or daddy? And sometimes those things can be represented in pictures or in books. So you just start to sing along with your book and talk about, and then you do the actions to the wipers on the bus go swish, swish, swish. So if you have a 2-year-old, you can start to, or younger than a 2-year-old, you can start to make those sounds, swish, 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 beep, beep, beep. Or if you have older children, they can say the words or they can sing the whole verse with you. Simon Says games, again, following directions. Any kind of board game I think is fun because you're talking about rules, you're talking about taking turns, you're talking about social interaction, you're developing, you can moving your little token a certain number of spots or you're matching the colors in the game. So all of those things I think are really good for social language and academic skills.
With board games, you can always tell the kids at school that they play board games at home because the kids know how to roll the dice. Mm-hmm. A lot of kids come to school and they have no idea what to do with the dice. But you do not need to play Chutes and Ladders for the entire game.
No.
You make up your own rules. And if you see that your child is getting, like he's done with this, say, okay, we're going to take 2 more turns and then we're going to be finished. So you have to anticipate that you don't have to follow the rule book. And then you can push it a little bit longer and longer each time.
Mm-hmm. I just played Chutes and Ladders today, and you're supposed to go up the ladder and down the chutes. Well, in order to get the game going faster, we went down, 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 down down the ladders and down the chutes, and that way the child was able to win. I think it's fun to look in your toy box, and let's get out the ring stacker, for example. We all have a ring stacker. What else can we do with a ring stacker? Can you put a string on it and tow it behind you? Can you make it into a hat? Can you peek through it like a peekaboo glass? Can you put it on your wrist? Does it fit on your wrist? Oh no, it's too small, too big. Can you put them on your fingers? So, you know, now you're learning your body parts, and you're learning size, and you're learning colors, and you're learning gradation, and you're being funny. So like, there's lots of things to do with the toys that you actually have, but just think outside the box of the way the manufacturer intended them to be. Ring stacker's pretty boring if you think about it the way the manufacturer said, oh, the big one has to go on the bottom and the smallest one goes on top, and this is how it goes. Think outside the box, because they're great. They spin, they roll, you can put them on string. There's 1,000 things to do with a ring stacker. So dig in your toy box and get out some of those toys that your kids have lost interest in, and show them new ways to play with them.
You know, you can make it fun and do a PJ day, which I'm sure everybody did during the coronavirus, or have an opposite day where you have dinner for breakfast and breakfast for dinner. You know, a pirate day where everybody has to talk like a pirate.
Or wear a hat day.
Yep. Fancy
inside out
days.
shirt day.
Yep. So there's a lot of things. And I think, Sarah, didn't you do a yes day with your kids at one point where you had to say yes to everything the kids ask you? So that's always fun. Be prepared for that. A fancy day, our kindergarten does that, where they dress up for everything. You could do a challenge day and say, you know, who in the family can do the most jumping jacks. It'll tire them out as they compete with each other. Who can run down the driveway fast enough, or who can run up and down the driveway 12 times. Who can clean up the fastest. Cleanup is always a tough thing. I had at one of my Zooms, the parent took the camera and showed me the living room and said, would you please tell him to clean up his toys? You know, they don't want to clean them up unless you're helping them. So, and be a little bit more specific, like you get all the cars and I'm going to get everything else. Or you get the books and I'm going to get everything else, and it'll work a little bit better.
Can I just add something there, Kathy?
Yes.
Sometimes if you add a little hustle, if you're like, oh, hurry, we got to get on to the next thing, you can suck them into helping you clean up and get it done a little faster. If you add that element of, oh, come on, hurry, we got to do this fast.
And the same way that I do in the classroom when I start to whisper.
Yes.
Shh. And everybody gets quiet. I mean, if you look like you're having fun, they're going to anticipate that. And there's going to be days that you're going to be like, you know what? It's a video day because I'm not having any fun. And that's okay, you know? Because the kids are going to sense when you're having a rough day, and everybody has their rough days. But, you know, explore different playgrounds, you know, I love the dance party stuff, have a sing-along, all those fun things.
I think clear a water bottle, a squirt bottle with clear water in it, and a rag. You can go wash the car, you can wash the house, you can wash whatever's outside. You can just wash it all because it's only clear water. And also, I remember one of our favorite activities when I was in preschool. We used to get a bucket of water and a paintbrush, and we used to go out and paint the walls outside the building, paint the brick. And we weren't painting any color. We were just painting water, but it would go on and then it would disappear because the sun would dry it. There's a whole science experiment for you to talk about right there.
It's a great fine motor, building that arm strength, because it's your arm strength that builds the fine motor writing skills too. So you're building that. And you can go on, if you're losing ideas, you can go on every day. I think you can find out is a special day. Like June 1st was National Go Barefoot Day. And Friday was handprint, you know, well, maybe that wasn't it. I had a list of things, but you know, like Peanut Butter Day. And you can look on it and find National Go Fishing Day. And you can find plenty of things to keep it entertained. But it is a lot of work. And just know that being a mom is a lot of work.
It's exhausting.
It certainly is. So Neysa and Kathy, we are so grateful for what you did. We're going to stop the recording now and open it up for questions.